What is going on, everybody? We are back at it again with Southampton underscore F1. Back for race 3. We saw some absolute scenes last week in Suzuka, where we rounded off in Japan. And we'll take a quick look at the current drivers' standings. So we've got the Rapid Pup in first place, Apex UDD in the Mercedes in second, Rothwell coming in strong in third place, M-Hawk in fifth, Melon in fourth. So he'll be looking to try and get a little bit more momentum to his potential championship win. But the Rapid Pup is pulling away strong, 20 points clear of second place. However, that P2 battle is looking like it could be quite a tight one. Only a few points between second and all the way down to sixth. A minor 3 points difference. However, Red Bull looking strong. Both their drivers in sixth and seventh, respectively. And we'll be kicking it off in Shanghai. Shortly, we'll be doing a sprint race, followed by regular short qualifying as per usual, and then into the main race, which will be 50% of the regular Grand Prix length. And we'll just hope to get an invite shortly. If you're racing tonight, let me know in the chat, and we can have a little talk about how you fancy your chances and where you feel you may potentially place. And just a quick disclaimer to anybody who is racing and is in the chat, I don't get a weather report, so any insight to the weather would be greatly appreciated between qualifying, the sprint, and the main race. So just waiting on that invite. Should be through any second. Really? So we're in Shanghai. It is a sprint race. Next week we'll be in Barcelona or Spain. Not a strong track for myself. I never seem to be able to find any traction, unfortunately. But once again, we'll go over current championship standings. I believe this is excluding the reserves. That's my understanding of what's being posted on the Discord. So we left off with Red Bull, SCP Killer, his teammate, all the way up in P1, the Rapid Pup. So it could potentially be a strong contender for the constructors. Spills down in ninth. And Scummer, the Aston Martin, who actually placed pretty well last week in Suzuka. Big shout out to Scummer for that one. Brown and SFC in the Mercedes. Obviously his teammate doing a little bit better than himself, but he has not been too bad with the points finishes so far this season. Can he keep that momentum going here in Shanghai as waiting on that invite? Still. We'll just try and get that going once more. There we go. Apologies if it does come across quite loud. The intro, unfortunately, doesn't appear to be adjusted when I adjust volume of audio settings, but Shanghai was where we wrapped up last season. And I believe it was the Rapid Pup that won there. Rothwell giving him a good run for his money. Could potentially see the same here today. But it is a new game, new setups, and the game is still fresh. Not a lot of people being able to EA Sport dial in those setups just yet. So it could be anybody's race. That's both for the sprint qualifying and the main race. There we go. Now it's come through. What? Hello? There we go. Finally, we are in. And crisis averted. So we'll be doing 14 laps, and for the sprint race, it will be reverse grid. So as we were looking at over here, obviously, let's see, we do have a couple substitutions. I was talking to, I believe it was Scarenzi. No, it was Scummer who was telling me Crippington is away. HBL will be taking his place in the Ferrari. And one of the McLaren drivers is away, so Findale will be taking his place. And apart from that, should be a healthy grid, a full, 20-stack grid ahead of the race start. Just take a quick look. I feel like... Yeah, so Ricey is away and Harry will be taking his place. Now, Harry was in the chat last time around and he's back again, looking for redemption this week. He did say he had a poor showing at Suzuka, so hopefully we see him redeem himself here at Shanghai, China. Quite a technical track, and hopefully weather will be good. So if you do have any insight to the weather beforehand, please do let me know in the chat so I can let everybody know what the weather conditions are looking like. And as we hit 20 seconds to the countdown, we'll obviously have a small break for everybody to load up their setups. But the championship battle is heating up. However, the Rapid Pup has raw consistency and savage pace. So I do think it's looking pretty good for his title chances. The weather there is looking a little bit cloudy. I'll mess with it next week. Try and get my visuals looking a little bit better because it's not looking so great for me at the minute. Give that a quick settings. Oh, and we are just about ready to go. And with that, it is lights out of the way we go. Front of the grid will be the Haas team. As they take us away, William McNamara getting the inside line, now leading the race. His teammate just behind, could potentially be chaos, but everybody is keeping it nice and neat on the track. A few position changes, Bond making a few moves in the Aston Martin, setting his sights on Harry RL, who's looking for redemption, but does have HD quickscopes as he makes contact with Harry RL. So, ooh, we've got yellow flags out. Don't believe there's any reason for a safety car, but Harry RL retaining that P3 spot. Bond, though, has managed to get ahead of O'Clark in the Williams. As we see a couple gaps forming, and Crippington's redemption could come in the form of Findale, who's moved up to P5. O'Clark taking that position back from Browner SFC. And we've got more yellow flags. Obviously, a little bit of contact. And the drivers at the back do need to try and work their way through as quickly as possible to avoid being left in no man's land. Could have a move on the cards from M. Hawk as he's getting into a battle with Supermac in the Red Bull. The two Red Bull teams now clashing, coming onto the DRS zone. Won't be DRS as it's the first lap. But M. Hawk is going to fall just behind Supermac, who's actually had a pretty decent performance so far this season. And, we've seen M. Hawk do a couple bits, and a little bit of a coming together between SCP Killer and Supermac there in the third to last corner. The Williams and the Mercedes going at it as the Williams goes wide. His teammate now making it ahead of him. Brown SFC falling down to P8. Findale, a little bit of gap there. He's got a bit of a gap to the cars behind as well as the cars ahead. Brown SFC with a massive lunge. Down the inside, I should say. Up to P7. Could see a really good performance. He is looking pretty strong this season in that Mercedes. And we'll just try and keep an eye on the gaps. For the sprint race, I believe everybody has opted for the medium tire. A few people taking a bit of a gamble on the softs and a few playing it very safe on the hard tire, but medium seems to be the move for most drivers. Denny and Benny could potentially see a move from him on William McNamara, who has had some trouble getting the points this season so far. But if he can keep it on track, he could be looking good for points in the sprint race. Loses the rear end there a little bit and a little bit more right there. Possible strategies are looking like a one-stop, but I suspect drivers on the hards may potentially try to see how far they can get those hard tires. A couple gaps, but Bond might have the run on Harry RL in the second to last corner as he makes a move for the inside, going side by side. He's going to get the inside line. No switchback from Harry, unfortunately, as Bond makes a textbook pass. A little bit of contact. Could have been a bit neater, but not a bad move from Bond at all as he moves up into P3. And Harry will get DRS. Denny and Benny setting the fastest lap of a 137.6. HD Quickscopes knocks him right off. Could see a lunge from Harry as he goes slightly wide in turn one. Might be struggling for traction, but seems to be getting a little bit more speed through the corner in comparison to Bond as he's being slowed down by those two Haas drivers in P1 and P2. And Bond now looking to make short work of the Haas as he kind of gets cut off by William McNamara. And we have seen him be a bit of a problem on the track. And we've got rain here on lap 3 and a lunge from Harry RL out of nowhere in the McLaren. Lots of contact happening. I imagine drivers will start to struggle for traction now that it's starting to get a little bit wet. And Bond taking that position back from Harry. Brilliant battle between these two. All for third place as we see the Haas boys kind of play it safe. Denny and Benny in the lead was able to snatch that position away from William McNamara. So some very good battles. We could potentially see... Oh, I've just missed it. So HD Quickscope's able to get ahead of the Ferrari of Findale, who is filling in for Crippington, somebody who I'm quite disappointed not to see on the track. He owes me a good result. I'm not for this Ferrari experience in this game, to be honest with you, as we've got Bond. Might try and sneak a lunge on the second to last corner, backs out last second. Still going to fill in, but Harry with an outrageous lunge in that McLaren, making contact. Still going to be in P4. We've got Findale reclaiming that position on HD Quickscopes, just barely now on the main straight. He's going to get DRS, so is HD Quickscopes, but could we see a move? He is right behind. Will he make a move for the inside? No, he's going to fall in just behind. Seems to take the inside line through the corner now. Is going to be able to get ahead of Findale, albeit just barely, setting his sights now on Harry DB in the McLaren. Conditions not looking good. May potentially see a few drivers pit for inters as we've got a safety car out now. So are we going to see people pit for inter tires? And is anybody going to take a gamble for the full wets? So the Haas, Team Haas looking pretty good. And I'm sure those drivers that are fairly quick. Oh no. Have we got a car retired? Is it Rothwell first into the pits onto those intermediate tires? And I've just realized the Rapid Pup is not actually here. That is unfortunate for the Rapid Pup. However, it's basically Rothwell's race to win. If he can make up the gap, as he currently sits P19, if he can make up the gap, and surely we'll see drivers pit for the intermediate tire. You would be silly not to. But Bond, the first of the offenders for track limits, picking himself up a lovely, 10-second penalty. That's got to be for... I thought for sure that would be a... and he's just made contact with William McNamara. Twice. What on earth? That could be Bond's race done and dusted for the sprint. 20 seconds of penalties. That is unfortunate. We see a few drivers staying out trying to take the gamble on the slicks. But we do see quite a few diving into the pits. Scum are going to try and risk it, as well as HD Quickscopes. Vaughn, William McNamara, and Danny and Benny all staying out on the slick tire. The rest of the field is looking to pit. But will that gap be too big for Rothwell to catch up? I think it may be, and he may be doing the restart in P19, as we see drivers already coming out of the pits now. One thing you can't say about the league is that it's boring, as we see everybody taking a very different approach to the sprint race. There's only a handful going on to intermediates, a few going on to the hard tire. Not sure that's the right move, gentlemen, I'll be honest with you. Unless it's a very, very light rain, I feel like the intermediate would be the move. So Harry RL, I feel like, has made the right choice, as has Findale, O'Clark, SCP Killer, Mellon, Counders, and Rothwell. I do believe are all on the optimal tire. And I'm not sure if anybody else realizes that the conditions are probably not going to improve. So we've got... I do like to see a bit of a gamble, but I personally, I would definitely go for the intermediates here. Ooh. So remember, we have already seen Bond make contact with William McNamara ahead, and I suspect it may have been to do with Denny and Benny trying to maybe open up a gap or something. I don't really know. But as we wait for the rest of the field to catch up, I don't believe it'll be this lap. But surely the next one we should see a restart. And you can see Bond being a lot more cautious, keeping his distance to William McNamara, as he does have front wing damage. We'll just go on board with William McNamara to try and get a better view of how much damage he's got. It looks like it's the front right end plate. It is, by the looks of it, both end plates have damage. So, no, just the front right has damage. Yeah, I just couldn't quite see it. But Bond, I'm sure, will not be all too pleased with the damage he's got there. And he has opted to take the gamble and stay out on those mediums. And, oh, we've got Findale being passed by Harry. It may have been just a quick exchange. Maybe somebody braked too hard and missed the braking zone. Could have been something like that. So I would like to see Findale do well, as he's filling in for Crippington, and I'm a big fan of Crippington. And he's currently poised for P7, but he will have to potentially make a move past those drivers on the slicks. So just behind him we've got Browner, who will surely have less grip than Findale, and obviously Bond with the 20 seconds of penalties. Not ideal for him in the slightest. So obviously Harry in P6 is looking for redemption this week, and we will have the safety car in this lap, so we'll get ready for that. So quite the chaotic start already, just in the sprint race. As we've already had a safety car. So Rothwell will not be starting from the back of the grid. That is Spills in the Kick Sauber. But we'll go on board with Denny and Benny, who will be starting us off. So surely going to absolutely boot it out of this corner. Remember, he is on those medium tires, so he may be struggling for traction. as well as the 4 drivers behind him. It could be absolute chaos into turn 1, and I'm sure Barn very excited to get going, and he's gone, he's legged it. Denny and Benny pulling half a second gap already to his teammate and full second ahead of Barn. Into turn 1, is he going to have the grip? He seems to be struggling, goes a little bit wide, but manages to keep it on track. Decent line, and he's keeping good control of the car. See a rear end coming out just a tiny bit, but he's keeping that Haas where he wants it. And he's got his teammate not too far behind, but Barn really needs to try and position himself well here. Got a few position changes happening down a little bit further down. Tom P in P13, M Hawk in P14, and Melon losing out to Apex all the way down in P15 and 16 respectively. And we'll just keep an eye on the gaps and try and focus on where there's going to be battles. Quite a tight little group going on here, as we've got Findale just behind Harry, both on the intermediate tires. But this is where we're going to see if there's benefit to making that pit, and I suspect there will be. They should be able to close the gap on HD quickscopes and get ahead fairly easily, as they are on the better tire. Should be getting significantly more grip through the corners and the exits. So we'll get rid of the tire now. We've had it on screen long enough for everybody to see and let their teammates know. And Scummer getting ahead of his teammate up to P3, but is also on the slick tire, and it looks like William McNamara is falling behind. Potentially this could be a slow down the field situation. So Scummer, oh, we've got our move from HD Quickscope's massive lunge, pretty much just absolutely pushing William McNamara down into P4. That is surely going to be for the stewards to take a look at. William McNamara obviously not too happy. We've got, oh my goodness, 2 cars just gone off the track out of the last corner. I believe that was Findale and Barn taking each other out on the final corner. The absolute scenes. SCP Killer going alongside O Clark, gunning for that P7 position. M Hawk up to P10 now, as he's looking good side by side with Super Mac. Really, really tight racing. You do love to see it. I love when I can't find where the action is, because there's so much going on. SCP Killer now side by side making contact. Is O Clark up the rear of SCP Killer, as just a knock-on effect for everybody behind. Tom P, Supermac, M Hawk, and Findale, I believe, all affected by the contact that was made there. Just keeping an eye on the gaps. We've got Apex fiercely wanting to get ahead of Buddy 8655. O Clark, something has happened. He's gone round, and he was on the intermediate tire, so very unfortunate. We've got a yellow flag out, but I don't believe it'll be a safety car. And Denny and Benny getting away with the race quite easily, and William McNamara's gone off track, taking his own racing line as he drops all the way down to P10. And this is where the consistency will be everything you need. And we've got Findale looking like he's going to be making a move. Lots of moves happening, as we've got Brown SFC ahead of Scummer now. Both are on slicks. No, yeah, both are on slicks. Brown SFC is on the hard tire, but has managed to get ahead of Scummer and seems to be opening the gap ever so slightly as he's gone into the pits. And that's what it was. They didn't go off the track. I'm an idiot. They pitted for inters. Goodness me, we got everybody coming into the pits now, as they probably should have done under safety car. So Denny and Benny running away with it, but Harry RL still in the mix. Up to P3 on the better tire. Scummer is up to P2, but can he hold on and get that podium? As obviously we've seen SCP Killer have some pretty good pace. He's on the best tire possible. Harry RL, redemption for this man, as he's looking to try and get a better exit and maybe get the run on Scummer. Surely going to be able to do that once we hit the DRS zone. You can see how much more traction he's got as we make our way through the second sector. Those tight corners, but Scummer doing a beautiful job keeping that Aston Martin right where he needs it to be. SCP Killer breathing down the neck of Harry, down to 7/10 of gap. Not a lot of room to play with there, Harry. You need to decide whether you're going to make a move on Scummer, as he makes a massive lunge. Maybe not the best move there from Harry, as he's now surely going to lose that place to SCP Killer as he goes side by side with him now. That lunge could have potentially really cost Harry dearly. He does have a penalty, a 3-second track limits penalty, so could see him pushed all the way down to P8 as SCP Killer and Harry both going to be able to get ahead of Scummer. Could we see a switchback from Scummer as nowhere to go for Harry? He may have had the right to the inside line, but that'll be for the stewards to decide. Denny and Benny's now pitting, which will mean that SCP Killer is your new race leader. And Scummer's also in the pits, potentially going to see retirements here, as continuing to race would kind of be pointless depending on where the points stop. But Harry RL, now your race leader, ladies and gentlemen, in the McLaren, despite his 3 seconds of penalty. If he can break away from the pack enough, we could potentially see him on the podium. However, 3 seconds of penalties, not a small amount. Could see him drop down as far as P4, maybe even P5, possibly further. 6 would be the safe bet, as Findale making the move on M Hawk and pulling a slight gap up to P5 now. Get this man on the podium, should potentially get ahead of Tom P, and then just needs to set his sights on SCP Killer if he wants his shot at glory. That P3 spot doesn't get the exit he was maybe hoping for. Tom P on the medium tires goes very, very wide. Reposition for Findale as he's moved up to P4. Sets his sights on SCP Killer, but is just outside of DRS as he closes that down to 8/10 now. We'll get DRS. We'll be able to keep up with the pack. However, all the drivers behind him will also have DRS. Harry RL getting passed by Supermac. And could potentially see M Hawk make a move on Tom P. Nope, M Hawk going to be playing it safe, but Harry RL really getting to the mix with Supermac, taking that position back, and Spills getting ahead of Buddy. So Supermac in P2, pretty much a guaranteed win, even if it won't be on track, as he makes a lovely move on Harry RL to take that P1 spot. SCP Killer looking to pick up the scraps, but Harry RL is not done as they go side by side. A little bit of contact, and a little bit more contact for good measure, as Harry RL does not have an end plate. Will need to defend against SCP Killer, who does have excellent pace, and we've got a lunge from Harry RL as they go side by side, the McLaren and the Red Bull. And they are still side by side into the next corner. Supermac doing amazingly to keep that Red Bull on track. SCP Killer now up to P2 with about 3.5 laps left to go. He's on the intermediate tire. Supermac on the hard. I think SCP Killer could be winning the sprint race here. Harry RL still not far behind, and with his current penalties and pace, could potentially see him drop down as far as P7, depending on what happens to the remainder of the field. Tom P and P5, obviously that massive 2.1 second gap. If Findale can open up that gap a little bit more, potentially see him work with Harry, as much as I doubt that that will happen. Could potentially bring back Harry's hopes of finishing P4, as he's going to try and get alongside SCP Killer. Won't have the legs to do it. Oh, play it safe. Play it safe, Harry. Oh, no, you've made contact. The stewards are going to love you for all the reports, unfortunately. I've seen quite a lot happening. So SCP Killer now needs to try and defend. 2 drivers coming down the main straight into turn 1. Findale taking the inside line, getting ahead of Harry RL. But Harry RL's line is the second half of the corner where he comes back. And we've seen that happen here, almost going side by side with Findale, but he does have that front wing end plate damage. But he's doing amazingly to keep it pretty close to Findale, as they are now going to go side by side through the next corner. But Findale is going to get the inside line for the following corner, forcing Harry to take the outside line. Findale will be moving up to P3. Could potentially be a podium for him here. Almost certainly guaranteed for the Scuderia Ferrari. I did kind of call it last week that I was guessing that the sprint race in China would yield a half-decent result for the Ferraris, at least half the team anyway, as Findale moving up to P3. So I think that is probably going to settle down unless Harry makes a massive dive. He tried, didn't quite have the grip he wanted, and now he's going to fall outside of DRS to Findale, up to 1.5 seconds of gap. And that brings Tom P ever closer. Does still have those 3 seconds of penalties, which could see him pushed outside the points. And we've got a yellow flag. M. Hawk making contact with Apex, I believe. Or it could have been his teammate Rothwell. As they go side by side into the second to last corner, Rothwell getting ahead just before. And Tom P losing out 1, possibly 2 places if Rothwell gets the exit as they make their way onto the main straight. He's going to go side by side with Tom P, going to get ahead. And Tom P does leave at his space as he sets his sights on Apex now. Don't believe he'll have the legs to make a move, but has managed to close the gap. He's got a few drivers behind him, but Rothwell now in the points, which will be to his benefit, and Findale could potentially be making a move on SCP Killer soon. I just want to see what happens with the Rothwell situation before we move over to Findale and SCP Killer. So Rothwell going side by side with the Mercedes driver of Apex, has to take the outside line, could potentially see a switchback, no space for it. DRS is now being disabled. Rothwell goes wide. Apex getting a slightly better exit, carrying a little bit more speed into the following corner, and is able to open up a very slight gap to Rothwell, up to 4/10 now. So Rothwell does have his work cut out for him if he wants to try and make it up to that P5 spot, with about a lap and a half of racing left, and Supermax surely going to win it with 2 seconds of gap to SCP Killer. HD quick scopes making short work of Buddy. Something must have happened, possibly a slight spinneroonie. And we've got Rothwell now has the run on Apex, but it's all down to the second to last corner and whether we could see a switchback. Nope, it does not look like Apex has low enough wings to really keep up, but he's going to get a slight slipstream. And they've made contact. Apex unable to really get enough braking to prevent that from happening. Has not damaged his wing, but as we make our way into the final lap, we will go clock now. All the way down in P18. But we'll take a look at Findale and SCP Killers. They go side by side. Findale was ahead, now needs to take the outside line as they are wheel to wheel and not making contact. Brilliant racing from both drivers here. SCP Killer in the Alpine. Findale in the Ferrari. Who's going to come out on top? This is the final lap of racing, making our way into Sector 2 in this contact. SCP Killer going off the track. I don't believe that was anyone's fault. I think that may have just been a racing incident, and Harry moving up to P3, but does still have those 3 seconds of penalties. Now battling with SCP Killer, a little bit of contact. Ooh. SCP Killer, I'm sure, won't be too happy. Was guaranteed a podium, was battling for second place, now drops down to P4, which would be a P4 finish on track, but guaranteed P3. And Rothwell, who we know has pace, I believe a very good match for SCP Killer, both very similar in pace and consistency. Arguably, Rothwell has a little bit more consistency than SCP Killer. But we could see a lovely battle for that P3 spot. We'll be P4 on track. However, who's going to be able to make it to that P4 spot, which would mean P3 due to Harry's penalty, but we'll go on track with Supermac for him to finish out the sprint race and then possibly come back to SCP Killer. So there we have it. Across the line, your sprint race winner will be Supermac. SCP Killer will be gaining that P3 spot, will be 4th on track. Rothwell 5th, but P4 on track. Harry will be finishing in 5th place, so still in the points. Decent redemption for Harry this week, to be fair. And then we've got Apex, UDD, and the Mercedes Tom P in the Red Bull, Melon in the Kick Sauber, his teammate just behind, Spills HD Quickscopes in the Williams, M Hawk in the Racing Bulls, V Carb, Toro Rosso, Sugar Free Red Bull, whatever you want to call it, and Browner SFC in P12, Denny and Benny P13, Scummer P14, Buddy in P15, Countess P16, Barn, who had a hell of a race, I believe a total of 30 seconds of penalties for him, unfortunately. Not the best race for Barn here. Was competing for a podium, and then things just seem to not go his way, unfortunately. So here you have it, your sprint race winner, Tom P. In P2 will be Findale, P3, SCP Killer. So congratulations to those drivers. So well done, Harry. Unfortunately, due to that track limits pen, missing out on a podium. But still a very strong race. So there you have it. Supermac is your race winner. Fastest lap by HD Quickscope. Supermac driver of the day, as well as most overtakes. And the cleanest driver was Melon. So congratulations to your winner, Supermac. P2 was Findale in the Ferrari, up the Scuderia Ferrari. And P3 was SCP Killer. And as we make our way over to the short qualifying for the main race, I can't wait to build this. Yeah, Lego Speed Champions. Whoops, dropped it. Good thing it's not built yet. Ferrari to add to my slowly growing collection. I already have the Williams as well as the Kick Sauber. So it'll be lovely to add a third car, Scuderia Ferrari, to the collection. I do intend to get all 10 at some point. Do. Oh, that was it for the sprint race. I may potentially take this opportunity before we load into qualifying, just to relieve myself, for lack of better words. So congratulations to those that won. I will be right back, and we'll get into the action of the qualifying and the main race in just a moment. All right, my sincerest apologies from then. I just thought before we get into qualifying, I'll make sure I've got everything I need. I probably should have grabbed myself another drink, but I should have enough water to, at the very least, get me to the end of qualifying. So, to wrap it up, what an exciting sprint race that was. Potentially going to see a few people reporting to the stewards after a few questionable moves from a few other drivers. One thing it was very exciting. That was quite entertaining, very enjoyable to do commentary on. And once again, if you are in the chat, if you can offer any insights to the weather conditions for both qualifying as well as the main race, that would be greatly appreciated. Obviously, throwing a slight curveball with the dry start on the previous on the sprint race, followed by the wet conditions, and under the safety car, a few drivers that did take that gamble, not pitting. It paid off for them, and other drivers, not so much. But as I said, it was a gamble. So obviously, Tom P, the winner of the sprint, did stay out on the slick tires, and it worked out for him. So as we make our way over to qualifying, who's going to be the first to set a lap? So it does look cloudy once again. And if we see similar timings and conditions to the sprint race, then we could potentially have rain partway through. Which would make for a very spicy qualifying session. So by the looks of it, the first driver to come out will in fact be Harry in the McLaren. Oh, it will not be Harry in the McLaren. That looked to be Bindale. And Scummer, also one of the first to come out. So, quite a few people going out. But currently at the front is... oh, the Rapid Pup sat out the sprint race, but has joined us for the main race. I never actually checked that. So my sincerest apologies, just quickly while everybody is on an out lap. Okay, so it is 1080p 60. Just had to make sure. So the Rapid Pup currently is on an out lap, and surely going to see an amazing time from him as he makes his way through the second sector. Going to be the first to be setting a lap in the Alpine, your current championship leader. I believe he also won by a rather large margin last season. And we do need to be cautious because the Rapid Pup domination could bore fans, I've been told. So just behind him is going to be Rothwell, who I think if there's anyone with the best possible chance of beating the Rapid Pup, it is Rothwell. But we'll go on board with the Rapid Pup as he makes his way to start his lap. So carrying quite a bit of speed, around 200 before the corner. Pretty solid line, a little bit different to what we saw from Harry. So he is looking quite good through the first sector into the second. You have a caution out, but not stopping the session just yet. Oh, the Rapid Pup losing the rear a little bit on the exit, but is able to save it. Surely going to affect his lap time, but opts to go through with the current attempt. I am a fan with the new game where the grass will stay on the tires and everything looks a lot dirtier. It'll also affect the dirt on the car. So the Rapid Pup making a really good attempt, up to 204 before the braking zone for the second to last corner. And what kind of time could we potentially see from him here? So there's quite a lot of battery left. And is going to dump the remainder across the line for a 134. And we'll take a look at Harry's in the pits. Never mind. Where's Scummer? We'll take a look at Scummer. Oh, he's just set a 134.4. It's a little bit off the leader, so we can see a few. Oh my god, Barn out of nowhere with a 133.7. And that is surely down to the Rapid Pup losing the rear end on that corner, which I did say may potentially affect his attempt. So what can Tom P pull out the bag? The sprint race winner. Oh, that's also a blisteringly quick time. It's Super Mac. Out of nowhere, Red Bull shocker. A 133.4 and a 133.7 respectively. The current front row is dominated by Barn and Super Mac in the 133s. So certainly not the strongest lap from the Rapid Pup, sitting all the way down in P13. HD Quickscopes, I think, is on an outlap. Is he close? Actually, had so he's just about to start his lap. We'll take a look at what he's able to do in the Williams, making his way down the main straight now, over to turn 1. No pressure, HD Quickscopes. But let's see where you can get yourself after your first attempt. And the Rapid Pup going into the pits. So he is still looking pretty good. He's leaving a little bit of room on the bone on a few of these corners, but that is just room for improvement. It's always good to get a good banker lap in before you start taking risks. Because even a slightly slower lap is better than not setting a time at all due to track limits. So quite a few drivers coming in. So it's good to see the kick Sauber all the way up in P5 from Spills. And HD Quickscopes making his way through Sector 3. Is going to be using just about all of his battery down the straight. And remember, we saw the Rapid Pup hit 204 down here. So obviously HD Quickscopes preferring a higher wing, which should in theory give him a Sector 2 time better than the Rapid Pup, making his way on the final corner. Done beautifully, not left much room on the bone there at all, as he puts himself into P6 just behind Spills by a tenth and a bit. And let's see, who was just behind him? Was that impeding? That may have been impeding. If that was the Rapid Pup, he's on an outlap. So not impeding, but M Hawk is on a hot one. And his teammate Rothwell on an outlap. And M Hawk just there, unfortunately, invalidating his lap. We'll take a look at what Buddy is up to. He's on a burner into Sector 3. But how much can he improve by? He needs to make up quite a bit of time. Upwards of half a second if he wants to start in the points. Whew. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what is going on with me today. Maybe I should have a coffee. As Buddy makes his way through the second to last corner, done beautifully right across the apex. Over to the final corner now, but what kind of time will he be able to set as he takes the last corner? A little bit of hesitation might cost him a bit of time. And he did not improve much at all. We'll take a look at Harry RL. It has invalidated, unfortunately, but the Rapid Pup and SCP Killer will be starting their hot laps soon. So the Rapid Pup, all eyes on him and seeing what he will be able to do as he starts his latest attempt. Needs to make up 1.5 seconds to put himself on pole. Not a short order in any way, shape, or form as he makes his way through Sector 1. What is the improvement going to look like as we see the split shortly? So he's up 3/10 already from Sector 1. Surely more meat on the bone as we make our way through Sector 2. Now, this was where he lost a bit of time on one of the exits of these corners in Sector 2. Surely going to be able to make up even more time if he doesn't make the same mistake twice. I believe it was this corner where he lost a lot of time. We'll see the split now, surely up to a second. Just shy of a second for the Rapid Pup improvement-wise. Now, Sector 3, can he find half a second through Sector 3? He will have the Racing Bull right there that he could potentially try and get close to get a bit of slipstream from, but I don't think he'll be able to be close enough to have any kind of benefit. But he is up to 205, which is slightly quicker than his last attempt. And he's lost the rear end on the second to last corner. Could that cost him? Was up by just shy of a second before, but as he crosses the line with a 135.5, putting him up to P3, just shy of Rothwell, who's just set a 133.2. Unbelievable. We'll take a look at Bond, who's currently on a hot lap through Sector 2. Needs to make up 5/10 to put him up on pole, so just about a half a second if he wants to try and get pole. Currently sits P4. So we should see the sector split. I've missed the sector split because I coughed, unfortunately, but coming through the third sector, and this will tell us whether he is running higher or lower wings than the Rapid Pup, who was able to hit 205 down here. So he is definitely running a lower wing setup, as he was able to hit 208. I wonder where that puts him on the speed trap. But only 10% battery. Could that cost him coming out of the final corner? Oof, very close to invalidating there, but what kind of time is he going to be able to put down, as he's just shy of a tenth slower than his previous attempt? Tom P, out of nowhere, able to put a 133.4, snatching that P3 away from the Rapid Pup, and about 100th behind his teammate Supermac. The Red Bull boys came to play here in Shanghai. So Spill's not currently on an attempt, Melon not currently on an attempt, Apex not on an attempt, neither is SCP Killer. Quite a few invalidations happening all over the place. We'll take a quick look at O'Clock. He's currently going through Sector 1. He's got his overtake on. Oh no. And he's gone to none now. So M Hawk needs to make some serious inroads to make it into the points, which I believe is what he'll be looking to do. Needs to make up about a half a second, a little bit over half a second. Be starting in the top 10. Can he do it? Will it be enough? Just shy, but there's a really, really close battle around that P10 spot with about 5 drivers basically having the same time. So if we look at within a tenth of one another, from Scummer in P10 all the way down to P13, all within a tenth of each other. HD Quickscopes was surprised us on his previous attempt. Could we see him go even further up as he makes his way down the DRS straight? I believe most people in the pit waiting for the opportunity to make one final attempt, and once Scummer comes closer to the line, so we'll switch from HD Quickscopes over to Scummer, and we'll do a full lap with Scummer on his attempt. So HD Quickscopes has abandoned the attempt. We'll go with Scummer on the second to last corner, who will be looking to start his attempt soon. Hopefully it won't be impeding Apex, who looks to still be on an attempt. But onto the main straight is Scummer now. Through Sector 1. What kind of improvements could we see? Currently in the mix, right around that P10 spot, quite a few drivers showing very similar pace. So things could get very spicy, very interesting, even up to like P8 all the way down to P15 look to be right in the mix of one another. As Scummer now making his way through the second sector. And I remember last week at Suzuka, we didn't have an incident where he had his overtake button still on. And it's a mistake that we've all done, but hopefully learn from his mistake and we won't see any more mishaps like that here in Shanghai. But coming through the second sector now, Scummer, what kind of improvements will we see? He's down by 1/10.5, unfortunately. So still meat on the bone, but I don't think he'll have time for another attempt after this one. So making his way down the back straight. Does not have much battery at all. So I don't think this is the burner that Scummer was maybe hoping for. We could potentially see the drivers behind him make an improvement on their attempts as he's abandoned the attempt. And Apex not currently on a lap. Buddy not currently on a lap. Findale, as we switch to him, he has gone into a wall, unfortunately for Findale. So back to the normal Ferrari experience then. So William McNamara all over the track. Currently shows low fuel. Surely the rapid pup. Oh, Super Mac gonna make an attempt, as we've got caught him just starting a lap. Through Sector 1, needs to make up 2.5 tenths to snatch that pole position from Rothwell. And I would love to see a Red Bull lockout for the start. That would be amazing. But Rothwell also going on an outlap, as is the Rapid Pup. And we have seen an improvement from Super Mac, but will it be enough? So his teammate not even 100th behind him. But he does have 2.5 tenths to Rothwell, who's currently sitting on pole. And the Rapid Pup not far off the pace of these Red Bull boys who've done surprisingly well. Obviously Tom P winning the sprint race. Now currently sits P3. O'Clark with a 5 grid place penalty for collision with Findale. Both drivers now out of the session. Scummer has retired. Not going to be able to make another attempt, unfortunately. So Supermac through the second to last corner. Will it be enough? Back onto the main straight. What's it gonna be? Oh my goodness. What a lap from Supermac. As he puts it on pole now, 2.5, well, just shy of 3 tenths quicker than Rothwell, who's currently on an outlap. And the Rapid Pup starting his lap now into turn 1. Not looking the cleanest. As he now may have hurt his time slightly. I know it can be distracting when you see those pop-ups come up for disqualified from session and retired from session, but he is up by about 100th. That unfortunately will not be enough. Take a quick look at Tom P, also starting a lap, as is Rothwell, who I believe is just behind the Rapid Pup. So we'll swap between these two, currently P2 and P4 respectively. Oh my goodness. Who has just impeded there? It was HD Quickscopes. Impeded the Rapid Pup. He will not be happy about that. He could have seen a massive improvement only to be absolutely screwed. And Rothwell spins through the second sector. Tom P now all hopes lie on him. Needs to find 2.5 tenths for a Red Bull lockout. He was able to win the sprint race, but can he potentially put it on pole, at the very least get P2 here in the short qualifying ahead of the feature race? Is running low on fuel, but does he have enough to make it across the line as he's coming down the DRS straight up to 207 miles an hour? So slightly quicker than the Rapid Pup was down there top speed-wise. A little bit wide through the second to last corner. 6% battery coming through the final corner now. And he's invalidated, but would it have been enough? Oh, it would have been 133.3, which would not have been enough. Would have put him right back where he was. So at least he can rest safe in the knowledge he didn't throw away a P2 lap. And he will be starting third. So not quite the Red Bull lockout that we were looking for, but Supermac out of nowhere. Amazing performance from the Red Bull drivers today, but your grid for the start will be Supermac, Rothwell, Tom P, Spills, all the way up in P4 for the kick salver. Amazing to see the Rapid Pup, Barn, HD Quickscopes, Melon, Brown SFC, Scummer, Apex UDD, Buddies, SCP Killer, M Hawk Counters, Harry RL still looking for redemption, Findale, O'Clark, Denny and Benny, and William McNamara, both the Haas boys, all the way down in P19 and 20 respectively. Findale in the Scuderia Ferrari down in P17, and Buddy in P12, giving me the full Scuderia Ferrari experience here at China. And I should have enough time to quickly go fill up my water ahead of the main race. Should be a 30-second countdown, and I should be here for the restart. And we are back. It was that quick to get a new drink. Very nice. Water. Water! Quite the interesting qualifying session there. Obviously, the Rapid Pup being impeded by, I believe it was HD Quickscopes. So could potentially see a bit of anger afterwards. And obviously, all the drivers are going to be gunning for their P1 spot. But the Red Bull drivers, absolutely amazing performance. Hats off to both of them. Great comms from, says caution fire warning. Also great haircut. Thank you very much. And with that, it is one formation lap today. So yeah. Yeah, so with the formation lap, I'll do a bit more talking. Yeah, with it being summer, I decided probably time to go a little bit short on the sides, trim the beard up a little bit. All right, we've got one of the Red Bulls just absolutely demolishing one of the braking markers. The contact being made by a few drivers left, right, and center. Questionable tactics. Hopefully nobody has damage. See a McLaren in the mix there somewhere. I suppose most drivers are not really a fan of the formation lap, so quite a few of the drivers opting to start on the hard tire. A handful going mediums. No damage in formation lap. Ah, I didn't know that. What's the weather looking like, Harry? Is it going to be dry all race? Is there any rain predicted? William McNamara, the only driver opting for the soft tire, is all the way down in P19. Could potentially see him make a few inroads before he has to pit. Bit of a gamble, but you know, sometimes the long shot gambles do work. Maybe he's banking on a really early race safety car. In which case, starting on that soft tire would be beneficial. Dry, I think. All right, so possibly going to be a dry race. Would kind of love to see it play out similar to the sprint race. We've got a mid-race condition change to the wets. Even better if we get a couple of safety cars, which Judging by how a few drivers drove in the sprint and during qualifying, could potentially see more than one safety car, but we'll go on board with Rothwell, currently P2, going to be just behind Supermac, who will be leading us into turn 1. I kind of want to start with somebody in the middle of the pack, just because I think there's going to be carnage from P5 down. I just have this, when you get a gut feeling about how turn 1's going to be with certain drivers. And I'm, again, not mentioning names, I just feel like there will be carnage similar to Australia. And with that, it is 5 lights out and away we go. Bit of a weird one there still. And we've got Rothwell, who's already spun. And are we looking at carnage back there? So Rothwell now all the way down in P19. Quite a few position changes happening. The rapid pump up to P2. Scummer up to P5. Honorable mention there. Melon up to P6. I believe he's lost out 2 places. Make that 3. M Hawk trying to get on through, as he does make it through on Melon. And Melon looking now, trying to take that position back. Huge dive. Bit of contact from Melon. Getting back that P6 spot. Harry all the way down in P12. Denny and Benny making massive inroads though, as Bond, Spills, and Rothwell all the way down at the bottom of the grid now. And Apex, something must have happened as he's just lost out 3 places. O'Clock just behind Denny and Benny. We're going to keep an eye on where the potential battles may be happening. We'll take the tires off just for now, just to give a slightly better viewing experience. We'll try and keep an eye on the gaps and show you where the battles are. Looks like M-Hawk could potentially be making a move on Melon, getting that P6 spot back. Actually, we've got Findale, who's going to fall just behind Harry RL, but can he get the run? Is he going to get the inside line? What's it going to be? Oh, and Harry moves over very late in the braking zone. Unfortunately, not the best move. At least that's how I saw it. Maybe not exactly what happened, but they are racing tight, and I'm keeping an eye on the gaps to find the next closest battle. We've got Counters, HD Quickscopes, and Apex in the mix down there. But into turn 1, we've got Harry RL and Findale absolutely just turning in on him there. Not ideal for either driver. Obviously, struggling a little bit with the wheel-to-wheel racing there. I think you get so used to being on your line during qualifying that you kind of forget that you need to switch things around a little bit. But Rothwell all the way down in P20. Very sad to see, as he kind of spun off the start. Not sure what happened. May need to watch that back. Ooh, we got Scummer potentially going to make a move on... No, never mind. Let's see, the next closest gap is all the way down in P13. We've got O'Clock just behind Harry RL. And if there's any closer gaps that open up, we will keep an eye on it. But we do have HD Quickscopes almost making a lunge, but not quite getting right where he wanted the car to be. And I believe it said Rothwell has left the session. Could be wrong. I wouldn't even blame him, to be honest, if he did. I don't think you could even ask for a more horrendous start. And Scummer getting ahead of Browner SFC. However, everybody's been left in no man's land. Rapid Pup has his work cut out for him to make up a second, 1.2 seconds of gap. M Hawk and Melon back at it with the battles. SCP Killer sniffing around for scraps, who will probably try and make a second overtake if Melon makes the move. So quite the gaps opening up between the top few drivers, but we've got Findale possibly going to make a move on Denny and Benny. And backs out, goes slightly wide, but we've got Harry trying to take a sneaky peek on the inside there very late. So this is the current mix of closest battles, until Browner and Hawk look to make a few moves. So HD Quickscopes and Harry. Oh my goodness. HD Quickscopes got absolutely sent. Obviously Harry, O'Clark, and HD Quickscopes went 3 wide, unfortunately not working out for HD Quickscopes as O'Clark making moves, and oh my goodness, Harry absolutely just getting bullied there. Very unfortunate for the McLaren driver. I think it was Barn that made contact as he tried to make an unsafe rejoin. Tom P getting ahead of the Rapid Pop. What is going on with the Red Bull boys today? Come on. Oh, come on, Scummer. You're a stone's throw from making it up to the podiums. As Brown are going to take a slightly different line. They make some slight contact through turn 1. But they stay side by side. Brown are getting slightly ahead. A little bit of more contact between Scummer and Browner SFC. Still side by side through the first sector, but it looks like Brown is going to get the better exit. But Scummer's still right on him. That dirty air could potentially affect him as we make our way into sector 2, not turn 2. What am I talking about? Detail, we'll take a look at the tires and see who's doing what. Obviously 3 laps old for everybody, but Scummer is on a medium tire in the mix with the hards. He needs to try and make those tires work for him a little bit, I think. Put the lap data on. So the Rapid Pup, I can't believe I missed it again. There was another position change. While I was so interested in Scummer's battle, unfortunately, O'Clark fully pushed me off track. Yeah, I think the same thing happened with HD Quickscopes when you guys were 3 wide. He made contact with you even if the hit wasn't that hard. The hit that transferred over to HD Quickscopes, unfortunately, pushing him way off track. So we've got Tom P looking to try and have a little sniff around the inside of the Rapid Pup, but the Rapid Pup getting the outside line and still making it work. Tom P had to slow down a little bit on the exit, but is surely going to get ahead before turn 1. Textbook overpass doesn't get any easier than that through turn 1. Now he just needs to try and keep his head down, focus, and he should be able to pull away from the Rapid Pup. And we've got Scummer getting in the mix there. He's in the mix with Brown SFC and M Hawk not too far behind. So can he fend off M Hawk while attacking Brown SFC? So we'll just try and keep an eye on the gaps. But this, I think, is going to be an interesting battle once the gaps close a little bit. Scummer, if you're listening, try and close the gap to Brown. Now I want to see a 3-way battle for that P4 position. That would be amazing. But Supermac pulling a Rapid Pup and just running away with the race. 3.3 seconds. We may need a safety car to spice things up in the second half of the race. Bond getting ahead of Spills now, as they are actually battling back and forth quite nicely. So Scummer does appear to be struggling a little bit with the cars. That gap now opening up to just over a second. Needs to try and close that. Will he get DRS? I don't think he will. But he does have DRS. Good stuff. Must have just been on the very borders. He's going to try and use this to try and close that gap to Brown SFC, but needs to try and remember that M Hawk is hot on his heels with Melon not too far behind. But Brown are doing an amazing job of holding on. He's still got healthy looking battery for the main straight. And Scummer surely going to be passed by M Hawk. Actually, everybody's battery behind Scummer not looking very healthy, so it could be just a case of hoping that Scummer pulls them along a little bit. So interesting line from M Hawk here through the first sector. Findale getting ahead of his teammate Buddy. But quite the interesting line from M Hawk. A little bit different to what you see of the cars in front doing. But he is keeping pace with them, and that's good to see. I think it'll come down to who's going to have more battery on that back straight. And it's looking like it should be M Hawk as Brown SFC goes wide. And Scummer going to take that opportunity to close that gap a little bit closer now, down to 0.5 thereabout. So Browner needs to work hard. if he wants any hope of getting that P4 spot. And remember, it could still be anybody's race. There could be a safety car. There could be track limits pens for the drivers in front. You never know. Not the most common occurrence. Obviously, in the sprint, we saw 1 or 2, but nowhere near what we've seen in the full-length races so far this season. So, Scummer, Browner, and M. Hawk appear to have settled down quite nicely. We've got Denny and Benny, who's looking quite hungry at Findale in the Ferrari. So both the Ferrari boys currently in the points, P10 and 9 respectively. Findale going to be getting ahead of his teammate, but bugger, I've missed it. Buddy going very wide, opted for the inside line, outbraked himself. Denny and Benny not really leaving any space for Buddy to rejoin there, and Scummer could be looking at the undercut of the century here, as he is the first to pit on the medium tires. Everybody around him obviously on the hards. So Scummer now starting his hard sprint stint, I should say. I believe this should be a 2-stopper race for almost everybody involved, but Melon in P6 still looking like he's going to be a real problem for M. Hawk. Just behind him, SCP Killer, who we know has the pace and consistency. This could be a really good 3-way matchup for that P5 spot. Things could get spicy, just like it's a 3-way matchup for that P8 spot. And we've got Denny and Benny 4/10 behind Findale. But SCP Killer just barely holding on to that 1-second gap as we make our way towards the end of the second sector. So Melon also appearing to just barely be hanging on, but whether that's a case of maybe M. Hawk has a higher wing and it's beneficial in the second sector, we don't know, but we should surely see an overtake. If that is the case, he is dumping his ERS. Even though I don't think it's really necessary. He'll just get overtaken on the main straight for sure, right? But a little bit of a defensive move. Melon making a slight lunge to the outside and makes contact from SCP Killer. Don't really think that was entirely on Melon, but he did move a little bit under braking. Browner SFC up to P3 now, the Rapid Pup in the pits. So should surely see Melon get ahead now into turn 1. No, but he does have more speed. M. Hawk saving it, but does slow Melon down ever so slightly. SCP Killer doing a really good job of just waiting patiently there in P6 currently with the battle for 4th place. So M. Hawk, SCP Killer, and Melon still in the mix for that P4 spot currently, but is not their true position. I believe it'll be closer to P6, as obviously Scummer and the Rapid Pup have pitted. A couple drivers have pitted now. So the Rapid Pup, Scummer, Spills, and O'Clark, as well as William McNamara, have all made their way to the pits for their first stop, but I don't think this will be a one-stop race. I highly doubt it. Last time around, we saw most people going for a 2-stopper. So we've got gaps all over the place now. Massive gaps. Could really do with the safety car if anybody wants to do a Latifi. So Melon. Oh, could we see a nice little inside light? No. So I think Melon does actually have the pace to get ahead of M. Hawk. He just seems to not be on the optimal line a lot of the time, but they are both going into the pits. SCP Killer now by himself in no man's land, as are most of the drivers. Brown and SFC with around 4 seconds of gap to the driver in front and 3 seconds of gap to the driver behind. And thank you so much for the rain arrow. It is much appreciated, brother. So, as we see a few more drivers going into the pits, Harry RL with the track limits warning, I believe the second driver to be in violation of the track limits with Bond. Oh, I guess that must have been like a pit lane thing too? Oh, they both got 10 seconds of penalty. and a 3-second track limits. That is crazy. Vaughn and Harry, 2 peas in a pod, the only 2 drivers with any kind of track limits penalty, but Scummer now getting back in the mix with Apex UDD. Was battling a different Mercedes before he pitted, now in the mix with the Mercedes teammate. And does appear to have significantly more pace despite being on the hard tire. The hard tire could be the move here for Shanghai. So surely you're going to see him get past once we hit the DRS zone, and a bit of contact from Scummer into the back of Apex UDD. He's looking desperate to get past now. And Apex not really wanting to give up the position so easily as they go side by side onto the DRS zone. And Apex now falling in just behind, trying to make the most of that little bit of slipstream. And SCP Killer, nope, should have just stayed on Scummer. Down in P11, who's, I believe this is the closest battle we have. Other than M-Hawk and Melon going side by side through turn 1. And Melon finally able to get ahead of M-Hawk. So quite a few drivers have now pitted. And Supermac, who was the race leader previously, M-Hawk, now making contact with Melon. So we'll possibly switch over to Supermac, who's going side by side with HD Quickscopes. I think he does have the pace to get past. Needs to try and make the move stick as soon as possible, as he will be losing time. So really needs to try and get ahead of this Williams now, as it could potentially affect him. And I don't think anybody ahead of him has pitted yet. So he's got the Rapid Pup, current championship leader, behind him in the Alpine. And we know the Rapid Pup is quick. But the real question is Supermac quick enough? Did an absolutely blistering qualifying pace, finally able to get ahead of the Williams, and it'll just be a bit of a bad shot if the Williams doesn't hold up the Rapid Pup as much as he has Supermac, because Supermac was definitely trying his best to get past, but just unfortunately no gaps for him as they go 2 by 2 wide into the second to last corner. Contact from the Rapid Pup into the rear of Supermac, and Supermac making contact with Buddy. And the Williams kind of getting back in the mix now, up, and oh, Supermac goes very wide, losing out 3 positions there. Or 2 positions, I should say. Getting in behind HD Quickscopes into turn 1. Could we see a potential mid-corner switchback? Nope, but HD Quickscopes does have that wing damage, which is going to affect his ability to remain on the inside line cleanly, as we saw there. But Supermac now falling in just behind the Rapid Pup just behind Buddy. What a mix this is. I mean, 2 by 2 wide into the second to last corner. The Rapid Pup making short work of Buddy here in the second sector. And Apex UDD, the latest violator for track limits, but Supermac now getting ahead of Buddy. Needs to try and make sure he holds onto that half a second gap to the Rapid Pup. And he could potentially see his win here in Shanghai. Could we see a sweep? Obviously, Tom P, I think, is already on the hard compound tire. So on the alternate strategy to his teammate, has yet to pit. Where would he come out? And is he losing time? That's got to be like 15, 16. He's going to come out behind his teammate, which is unfortunate. Probably going to be coming out around P6, P7 if he was to pit now. So short of a safety car, I don't see any way of that working out well for Tom P. And I believe what we are witnessing here, the current battle for 4th place, is actually the battle for the pole. So we've got kind of a 3-way thing going here, with M-Hawk, Melon, and Counters all battling for that P9 spot. None of them too far away from Scummer, currently in P8. So through the first turn, M-Hawk making inroads here. Seems to be a really good sector for M-Hawk. And Scummer not able to match the pace just yet, but might get a better exit. Second sector seems to be M-Hawk's playground, as he's made up that gap a little bit The Rapid Pup and Supermac will switch over to... Oh my goodness, good thing we got that on camera. Nobody would believe it, as we've got massive contact from M-Hawk into the back of Scummer, and then Melon making contact, and even more contact has just been made between Scummer and Melon. Very unfortunate to see. But whether or not cars were damaged, I think for sure M-Hawk's front wing... No, M-Hawk's front wing is not damaged. Neither is Melon's. So still no safety car. But Supermac could be potentially making moves as he gets ahead of the Rapid Pup in the third sector, coming into the second to last corner. Now, we did see the Rapid Pup make contact earlier in the race into the rear of Supermac. But they are going to be going now, and M-Hawk now getting the run on Scummer, as he was going to try and make the inside line work, falling back in behind Scummer now. Oh my goodness, what a race this has been. Just when you thought it was going to get boring and there weren't going to be any battles, they start popping up left, right, and center. M-Hawk dodging the chaos in front of him as they go 3 wide down the main straight. M-Hawk getting the outside line, now moving to the inside. Scummer just behind. And Findale in P11. So a few more track limits penalties popping up here and there, but M-Hawk seems to be a lot more comfortable in the first turn and the second sector in comparison to Scummer. And the Rapid Pup now losing a little bit of pace to Supermac through the second sector, and surely going to close that gap. Down the back straight has a very healthy looking battery charge as he goes very wide out of the second sector there. Possibly going to be losing DRS if Supermac can just pick up the pace a little bit. It's a 1.2 seconds a gap. I don't think that the Rapid Pup will have DRS here. He'll need to dump battery. And I imagine Supermac is doing the same thing as that gap now. I think the Rapid Pup does have the straight line speed. That gap now down to about a second. So the Rapid Pup's setup definitely more beneficial for the straight line speed. Buddy getting ahead of HD Quickscopes, but goes very wide, outbreaks himself there. And Melon going to be just behind. But that gap now has closed massively. Just 2 seconds of gap gone. Scummer and M-Hawk still battling it out with Findale just behind. So still a 3-way battle for that P9 spot. So we got gaps opening up all over the place once again. A handful of battles happening, such as this that we're currently witnessing, a 3-way battle for P9. Scummer, M-Hawk, and Findale all in contention. And Findale needs to try and battle with Scummer a little bit more to try and get into the points for that P10 finish. Currently sits P11. And just looking at all the gaps, this is currently the closest battle, unless we want to have a little nosy at Barn and Spills. However, Barn does have a penalty where Spills does not. Currently 14 seconds of gap. And as I said, I do believe this will be a 2-stopper race. Quite a few different strategies here. And a few people on different amounts of penalty points. And stops-wise, everybody has had 1 stop, barring those that you can see, the top 3, 6th and 7th, and 12th, as well as Rothwell yet to stop. I believe Rothwell said his Wi-Fi had died, unfortunately. So Supermac has managed to close the gap to SCP Killer. And now they will be battling it out, SCP Killer into the pits. But will Supermac get DRS? Does have DRS. So should be able to open up the gap to the Rapid Pup even further. And this is the sector where he's beneficial. So he is doing an amazing job. And surely, barring any major screw-ups, should be the win, as we've just crossed the halfway point in the race. 14 down and 14 to go. I think. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 14 laps to go. And Tom P, your current race... Supermac, your current race leader, his teammate Tom P, winning the sprint race. And we've got a few position changes happening. Melon still battling it out with the Ferrari. Different one this time around, as it's the teammate he was battling before. They go side by side. M-Hawk not far behind. And Scummer now. This has gotten very interesting very quickly, as we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4... just almost 5 cars in contention to potentially get that P6 spot from Melon, who's currently holding it. But M-Hawk and Buddy battling a little bit now. Melon going to be happy to see that, give himself a little bit of breathing room as they go back and forth for that P7 spot. The winner now going to be M-Hawk until they get to the DRS zone. And Scummer just behind 7/10, but needs to fend off Findale in the Ferrari. Both Ferraris now currently in the points, P8 and P10 respectively. It is just a matter of consistency, pace. That's all you need to win, really. And Melon has actually closed the gap to HD Quickscopes, as he's going to get ahead before the second to last corner. And HD Quickscopes attempting to make a move for the inside, not going very well. Apologies for the really terrible camera angles. I wish I could choose which cameras get used, but unfortunately that is beyond my control. And Scummer getting ahead of both Ferraris. They've double stacked it. Not a good move for Ferraris. Scuderia Ferrari experience, 110%. Very realistic. Yes. So M-Hawk still ahead of HD Quickscope. Sets his sights on Melon, who's currently P3. And Supermac back to being your race... No, currently still your race leader. And should come out actually not too bad if he pits now. He's done really well on the hard tire, but needs to get a little bit of more life out of them. Hold up. No, Supermac is the race leader. He was the race leader. Still the race leader. And he's on the hard tire, so this should be the tire to finish out the race. 6 laps all. And that's worked out brilliantly, actually. So Tom P, 12 laps on the medium tire. Maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I think he can do it. 2 seconds to the car behind. My goodness. This has all gone pear-shaped for the boys in Alpine, as Rapid Pup all the way down to P9. But M-Hawk finally getting to be able to get ahead of Melon for that P3 spot. So we currently could potentially see basically like a 6-way battle for P3. That would be absolutely insane. We've got everybody from M-Hawk down to Scummer within DRS of each other. And something's happened to HD Quickscopes. He's gone into the pits. SCP Killer now down the main straight. And his teammate quite a bit behind. Something must have happened to the Rapid Pup, as he does not have the pace to keep up with these boys unless we are actually looking at a 2-stopper. But I believe both Red Bulls could be looking at a 1-stopper. Counders is the People's Champ. I refuse to believe it. If we're talking People's Champ, it's got to be Crippington. Took me a little second for the name because he's not actually racing today. So he's my champ, all right? The Crippington is my champ. He's my favorite. So SCP Killer surely going to be able to get the run on Scummer in the Aston Martin and the Alpine. Scummer holding on beautifully, currently up in P6, losing out on DRS to Browner, Melon, and Hawk. Currently anybody's chance for P3, as Browner sending it down the inside of Melon. Gets the better exit now, sets his sights on M-Hawk as we come through to the DRS straight, and surely Browner going to be able to get ahead of M-Hawk. Has healthier battery, will get DRS, and could potentially even make the pass before the DRS is open. No, as they go side by side, easy pass. So it's down to Melon to try and get ahead of M-Hawk, and won't be able to do so before the corner. So that's Browner up to P3 now. M-Hawk not far behind, and Browner outbreaks himself, goes wide, and gets the position back from M-Hawk, and that's Melon into the pits for a second stop, I believe. So M-Hawk, Browner, SCP Killer, and Scummer all in the mix for that P3 spot. Rapid Pup trailing by just shy of 4 seconds. And the Red Bull boys, if they can make their current strategy work, they've got a 1-2. which would be crazy to see. Absolutely nuts. We've got HD Quickscopes making a couple moves due to Melon being in the pits. He got a new wing. And may even have been a drive-through penalty as well, as he's going to fall all the way down to... Oh, quite far down, to be fair. SCP Killer was looking to make a move on M-Hawk. Unfortunately, not able to do so, as Brown opens up that gap to 2 seconds. William McNamara, the latest defender for track limits. As we see a few of those penalties coming up now that we're in the second half of the race. SCP Killer, very good on the brakes, just shy of locking up, but is able to stay with M-Hawk. Needs to try and get that pass made as soon as possible if he wants any hope of catching up to Brown at SFC, but I don't think M-Hawk's going to be giving up that P4 spot all that easily. And Tom P, even with the 3 seconds of penalty, running away from Brown at SFC, and we see SCP Killer getting ahead of M-Hawk in just before the second to last corner, but M-Hawk now falling down to P5. Still a solid position. Good points for the Racing Bulls / sugar-free Red Bulls. And Scummer getting ahead of M-Hawk, who's just gone into the pit. So I did say a few people would be doing a two-stopper. I'm genuinely curious if people know whether Red Bull will be doing a single stop, like if this is a one-stop strategy, or if they still have another stop to go, because at the moment Supermac could potentially get away with a second pit stop if he needed to, but he is on the hard compound tire, I believe about 10 laps old now. 9 laps old. And Tom P might be a slight stretch of an ask for those medium tires, 12 laps on the medium, but does have 5 seconds of buffer. Meanwhile, Supermac has 13 seconds of buffer, and he's done an incredible drive here in the Red Bull. As, he's 20 seconds clear of Browner. Or near enough 20 seconds. Anyway, the Rapid Pup now needs to make inroads on Scummer and catch up to where his teammate is. Scummer kind of falling down the grid a little bit, but surely going to be securing that P6 spot 100%. Oh, my sincerest apology. I needed a second to take a sip of water. There's been so much happening. It's been crazy. So we'll go on board with the Rapid Pup now getting the pass on Scummer down the back straight. And this is currently the second closest gap. The only one that's closer is Buddy. Surely going to be getting ahead of HD Quickscopes down the main straight. Down the back straight, I should say. All over the track for HD Quickscopes. Not really a fan of that swerving that he's doing. But regardless, and he goes... Ooh, what a switchback from HD Quickscopes with the wing damage as they go side by side through the final corner, and contact is made. And Buddy has just spun out. Very unfortunate for the Ferrari driver, but at the same time, I feel like HD Quickscopes was maybe being pretty fair there, and Scummer just coming out of the pits now on a fresh set of boots, on a fresh set of medium tires. Slips down to P12. Could potentially see him make up 1, maybe 2 positions, as Buddy's all the way down to P11. And should surely see him get ahead of Buddy. And we've got M-Hawk hot on the tail of Findale as he picks up the 3-second penalty. But so does Findale, also coming in with that 3-second penalty. But they are 3 seconds clear of Counters, who did get a shout out in chat, to be fair. But M-Hawk and Findale battling it out now for that P8 spot. And we've got a safety car. William McNamara has crashed in the pit lane. This changes everything. Supermac surely going to pit for a fresh set of mediums. I don't think the softs will do it, to be honest with you. So I'm sure a few drivers going to be taking the opportunity to pit. Surely Tom P goes in. Surely Browner goes in. And O'Clark with a 3-second penalty for track limits. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the second safety car in the race, and we'll be returning for probably 4, maybe 5 laps of racing, depending on how things shape up. A lot of gaps to close, a hell of a lot of gaps to close, so could potentially see 4-ish laps of safety car So quite a few drivers opting to put a fresh set of mediums on, which I think is the right call. I don't think the softs are very good in this game. You don't get much life out of them. One of the only drivers opting to stay out was the Rapid Pup. So almost everybody pitting for new mediums, bar those that were already on mediums and were looking to close out the race. So Tom P, who obviously does have that 3-second penalty, this will ruin his opportunity of that P2 spot that he had in the bank. The Rapid Pup on the hard tire, surely not going to be able to keep pace with Supermac. And there's a back marker in between them. The back marker, I think, being Rothwell, who I'm pretty sure is on AI as his Wi-Fi died. So the Rapid Pup not looking good for his chances to extend his championship lead. However, Supermac, who just while we're under safety car, will have a very quick look at the championship standings once again. So Supermac currently in P6 and is 20 points shy of the Rapid Pup, is having a hell of a performance here at Shanghai as he's currently leading the race. So this will surely close that gap a little bit. The Rapid Pup probably not going to be too happy with that. But credit where credit is due. Supermac having an incredible drive, wins the sprint, did an absolutely blisteringly quick lap during qualifying, and is doing amazingly here in the main race. So I see a couple drivers taking a bit of a gamble, going for the soft tires. William McNamara has left the session, obviously bidding it in the pit wall. Not ideal, causing a safety car. However, things are about to get very serious under the restart. Let me tell you, things are going to get very, very serious. I think Supermac, it's all but in the bag for him. He just needs to keep driving the way he has been. You know, the Rapid Pup is quick, but he's on 6-lap-old hard tires. You know, I don't think he needs to take any risks. That's all I'm saying. I think he's better at Shanghai than the Rapid Pup. And he's been having an incredible race so far. Did an incredible qualifying session. You know, the sprint race went well, and we see those gaps closing up a bit now. So I think probably in the next 2 laps, we'll be back to racing. Obviously, the larger gaps like Denny and Benny and behind, not really going to be able to close that this lap, potentially. No, actually, maybe in this lap, to be fair. And then we've got Spills down in P16. And we'll see a hell of a lot of position changes by the end, just due to the amount of penalties we've got. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About half the remaining drivers all have penalties. So at the very least, 3 seconds of penalties. Harry RL, who was looking for redemption here today, currently sits P18 with 29 seconds of penalties. So very much not ideal for him. Obviously had that slight exchange with O'Clark earlier in the race between him and O'Clark, and also HT Quickscopes was in the mix just before it. Could have potentially been seen as a racing incident. Could have been seen as being pushed off. That will be for the stewards to decide should it be taken further. So I don't think O'Clark and Harry RL will be able to be with the cars for the restart, as they are just so far behind. And I think at the end of this lap, unless there's a chance they can catch up, but I don't think... Oh. Oh, we got a bit of a Russell and Verstappen thing going on there between Counders and Denny and Benny. Scummer. Oh no. That is so unfortunate. Scummer's just picked up 10 seconds of penalties for collision with M. Hawk. That is so unfortunate for Scummy. He was having a hell of a race. Was looking good for a P7 finish. Didn't have any pens. And now look. Oh my goodness. This is going to absolutely ruin his race. That is so unfortunate for Scummer. Unfortunately, that is the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And I do believe after this lap is when we will be going back for racing. And it will be 5 laps of racing. So there we go. O'Clock and Harry have now caught up to the pack. So safety car will be in this lap and will go on board with Rapid Pup. No, technically, Rothwell will go on board with Rothwell. Will technically get a front row seat to the restart. Oh man, this has worked out so beneficial for Supermac. I think Rothwell is still under AI. So, Supermac in P1. See all the drive. Oh, something's happened to Harry RL there. So, actually, we'll just go on board with Supermac to start us off. So there we have it on the restart. Supermac pulling a gap to Rapid Pup around a second or so, just shy of a second. Remember, Supermac has the cornering speed, but the Rapid Pup, I believe, has the straight line speed, so surely going to be able to open up that gap even further. Rothwell getting the mix, just getting swallowed up by the entire grid due to him being an AI. So Supermac running away with it up to 1.4 seconds of gap. Tom P getting side by side with the Rapid Pup despite his penalties and getting ahead, possibly looking to maybe block, even though I don't think Supermac needs it. And we've got a few more things opening up here. We've got Apex looking to maybe make a move on Findale up to P7, and the Rapid Pup currently guaranteed a P2 spot, and I think Brown are guaranteed a P3 if they maintain the gap as is, and Findale being overtaken by Apex UDD. And Melon falling behind. Scummer could be looking to make a move on Melon now. And the move was a little bit of contact, unfortunately, as they make their way down the back straight. And I think Browner will be the next to make a move as he's closing the gap Rapid to Rapid Pup. And he's looking to maybe try and take the inside line. Decides he doesn't quite have the legs to make it up as he makes a last-minute move for the inside as they both get taken off the track. That was very, very ambitious from Browner, if I'm being completely honest. But M. Hawk now getting ahead of SCP Killer. And SCP Killer not backing out that easy as they go side by side into turn 1. SCP Killer getting ahead. But M. Hawk for the second half of the corner could potentially get ahead as he's forced to slow down due to SCP Killer looking like he's struggling with the rear end of the car. M. Hawk being bullied by Apex quite a bit through that first corner. There's a little bit of contact being made between the sugar-free Red Bull and the Mercedes. And the next closest gap we've got is Apex still to M. Hawk. And Scummer, I believe, was just overtaken by Melon, and the Rapid Pup has fallen all the way down to P17. I actually think he may have left the session. Denny and Benny, the latest offender for track limits, another 3 seconds added to their penalties. Scummer currently sits 8th, but does have 10 seconds of penalties. With 3.5 laps to go, currently on lap 25. And the 2 Red Bulls in front, however, Tom P does have, he has a penalty, but I forget what he's got. He's got a 3-second penalty. However, so do all the drivers behind him. So it could be a Red Bull 1-2 as Apex makes the move on M-Hawk. Same move that I believe was... no. Huh? Cool. Apex showing us his interpretation of track limits there. As we've got Scummer in the pits, surely going to be a retirement for the Aston Martin driver. As he does have to serve... Is he serving the 10 seconds or is he retiring? He's serving the 10 seconds. Alright. So, Findale and Melon having a hell of a time around that P6 spot. So, Counters up to P8. And we did have somebody shout him out in the chat. And the Rapid Pup has left the session. That is a DNF for the Alpine driver. So, quite unfortunate race for him. Obviously, the stewards will be having a look at Apex. I believe that move on the second to last corner was very ambitious. And obviously, not a lot of space was left for either driver involved. As Apex kind of outbraked himself in the second to last corner. And didn't leave the Rapid Pup much room. Not even for the attempt on a switchback. And he has moved up to P3 though, but Red Bull won too. Good race for the Red Bulls as we've got SCP Killer now making the move on Apex. Forcing him to take that outside line. He's attempted for the switchback. However, not quite enough legs as SCP Killer pulls away in the Alpine Counters, getting into the mix with Findale with HD Quickscopes just behind, almost making contact. And just behind that is Brown SFC closing out the points in P10 as they will all get DRS and Findale, hoping not to get swallowed up by the three cars behind him as Counters hot on his tail with Brown SFC with a beautiful inside line on Counters. I do love it when things get exciting like that. And now Spills getting ahead of Denny and Benny up to P12. We saw in the background there as Brown SFC just behind Findale. Really trying to get ahead of that Ferrari now. No need to. Just need to focus on defending against HD Quickscopes. As obviously Findale does have those 3 seconds of penalties, which unfortunately will mean he will be finishing outside of the points. Melon, on the other hand, will be gaining a point. If he can close that gap even closer, he may even be able to put himself on the podium for the second time this season in the Kick Sauber, but he does need to try and close that gap to closer to the 1.5-ish second mark, as currently he will only be able to getting maybe P4 if he's lucky. So currently Spills and Bond getting ahead of Counters, or Spills is going to be ambitious to try and take the inside line. Ooh, as he goes side by side with Counters, and they get about an even exit. Might even see them go side by side. Counters backs out for the last turn as that move spills up to P12. Tires popped, says Harry DB. Oh, no. That is so unfortunate. Ah. Wait, does that mean you're driving with a pop tire right? Harry DB currently driving with a flat front left tire as we make our way onto the final lap. And Scummer setting a new fastest lap as he's gone onto the soft tire, just wanting to leave his mark on the race. But Supermac will be taking this one home nice and easy as we've got a bit of a battle developing for that P4 spot. Or P3 spot, I should say, as we've still got a three-way race happening for that. And I'll try and keep an eye on Supermac to make sure that we get him crossing the line, as I missed it last week. Apex all over the rear of SCP Killer, and he gets the exit coming now onto the back straight as a little bit of contact is made by SCP Killer now. And Apex will be getting DRS, but SCP Killer managing to surge ahead. But I need to be on board with the race winner, as Supermac will be your race winner. So excellent race for the Red Bulls, getting 1-2 as well as winning the sprint. And just really intense battling between Apex and SCP, but Apex will cross the line for 3rd, and Melon moving on up to 5th. SCP Killer finishing 4th, Browner SFC in 6th, M-Hawk in 7th, HD Quickscopes in 8th, Barn all the way down in 9th, 10th for Findale, so a little bit of redemption there. Could have been better. I think Crippington really let the team down by not being here, but excellent performance from Findale. He did pretty well in the sprint, did pretty well in qualifying. Buddy in the other Ferrari in 11th, just outside of the points count, is in P12, does have a fan in chat. And Harry DB, unfortunately, in the other McLaren, did pop his front left tire. So there it is, your race winner, Supermac. And it's a Red Bull 1-2 as Supermac, and I'm drawing a blank on the teammate, Tom P, are your 1st and 2nd place, and I believe it was Apex UDD in 3rd. However, that may change, as I think there's a few drivers that may potentially want to submit something to the stewards, as we saw a handful of questionable moves from the Apex UDD. But it is down to the stewards to decide. So there you have it, your race winner, Supermac, also getting the fastest lap, but I thought it was Scummer that got fastest lap anyway. Driver of the day, Apex UDD, most overtakes goes to HD Quickscopes. You do love to see it, and the cleanest driver was Supermac, who's able to pull away from the rest of the grid. So there you have it. Supermac in 1st, Tom P, Apex, SCP Killer, Melon, Browner, M-Hawk, HD Quickscopes, Barn, Findale, Buddy, Counter, Spills, and I ran out of time, unfortunately. So that wraps up your Shanghai race. What an eventful session we've had here this evening between the sprint, the qualifying session, and the main race. Really, congratulations to the Red Bull boys for the 1-2, as well as the decent finishes in the sprint race. I'm sure you guys will love to see the points, and unfortunate for Rapid Pup. Very unlucky race for him. Obviously, he had a few altercations with a few drivers that did not really work out for him. So that will shrink his championship lead, and I'm sure everybody behind him in the championship will be glad to see that. Obviously, Apex is in 2nd, managed to pull a P3 today, so should be able to get a few points closer to the Rapid Pup, who's currently on 36 points and will remain on 36 due to the DNF today. Then Rothwell, who also DNF'd, unfortunately. Just a really poor start for Rothwell off the start. Melon currently in P4, but the big winner will be Supermac, who should be quite ecstatic after his performance in the sprint, and then obviously winning, which will be amazing to see him close the gap. Currently 20 points behind, but surely that should put him closer to the win. In fact, it was 20 points behind yet. No, 24 points in that sprint race. Might actually make him the leader. I'm not entirely sure of how the points work, but we'll update that next week when we take a look at the driver standings ahead of, are we next week? Barcelona. So we've got a couple drivers here for interviews this evening. We've got, I don't know, the names are different. Supermac is the same, but Jack Apex is Apex. Okay, so we'll start off with the race winner, Supermac. You look really comfortable with the car there today, able to pull away from the Rapid Pup despite 2 safety cars. How do you feel the race went for you?
It was back to how it used to be, back into cruise control. I'm still driving with my toes, and my hands are a bit better.
So would you say the newer handling model with F125 is beneficial to your driving style compared to what 24 was?
Probably a little bit. I feel you get a lot more. There's a lot more room to push on this one than compared to the last one. Last one was a bit too twitchy, I thought.
Yeah, I found that as well. So on the last one, I couldn't do like medium traction control, but this one I can kind of do it. I'm still learning. But where did you
Yeah,
finish
same.
in the sprint race?
First.
Oh, so it
Clean
was
sweep.
you. I don't know why I thought it was Tom. Ah,
Nah,
and then obviously you guys
but
had
just
the 1-2 finish for the race. So that's excellent for the constructors.
yeah, and pole as well. So
Yeah, winner of the
couldn't
sprint.
be happier.
You got the pole for the start. I mean, you literally Red Bull's absolutely cleaned up at this race. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's been good. It's been a while coming after the start we've had in Melbourne and Suzuka, but we're there. We're thereabouts.
Yeah, I mean,
And they'll put us top of constructors as well after today. So
yeah.
ecstatic.
I don't know. Red Bull domination could start to bore fans as the season progresses. It's
Hope
funny
so.
because I literally said the exact same thing about Rapid Pup at the start of the race.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, congratulations on the win. Would you
Thank you.
say that Spain is a strong track for you, or one that you maybe struggle with a little bit?
I might be a bit of a struggle because I'll be on controller, not on the wheel. So
Are you
it would
playing like
just
while traveling next week or something?
yeah. So the
So
commitment is there, but the pace won't be.
that is unfortunate. So at least now we know why you maybe won't appear as on form as you were this evening.
Yeah,
So is that just for next week, or is it a couple of
just for
races
next
through
week.
the?
Yeah, no, just for next week, and then it should be alright for like the next 3 weeks after that. I think. Top
You,
of my head.
I think Crippington should take notes from you because he obviously wasn't racing this evening, and I feel like his replacement did a fairly decent job of trying to make the most of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, congratulations, and thank you for the heads up on why you potentially won't be on form next week in Spain.
yeah, that's
Um,
right. No worries.
do you think you'll be doing a bit of practice on the controller ahead of the race just to try and get a feel for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't raced on a controller in like a few years, so
And there's
it'll
no
be
way you can fit the wheel in like your backpack or like
no,
your suitcase.
no, no.
What if you left one of the family members behind? Would that?
No, I don't think it's gonna wash.
Ah.
So
Well,
yeah, it'll
at
be
least we've
alright.
explored all avenues.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll move over to Apex, who was P3, I believe. Hello, Apex.
Hello, you got me?
Yes. So you finished P3 in the main race. Where did you finish in the sprint?
We came fifth in the sprint.
So still in the points then for the sprint, and in qualifying, I forget where you started. It's difficult to keep track of 20 drivers.
Yeah, no, qualifying, bad qualifying was 11th.
So
And took a knock early, which knocked me back, but managed the safety car helped me out mid-race massively.
yeah, because there was two safety cars. There was one in the first 7 laps. I want to say it was lap 7. The first one came out, and then the second one
So
was.
we stayed out.
Oh, you stayed out under
Yeah,
the
it was
first
the second
safety
one.
car.
I stayed out, done a long stint on pit early, got on the hards, done a long stint hoping for the safety car, and it paid off. Managed to get on some fresh mediums and make up a bit of ground.
Oh, well done, well done. So you managed to recover that race all the way from P11 up to P3. So good job on that. There was a slight altercation on the second to last corner between yourself and the Rapid Pup. Anything to comment on that?
No, it may have been down to tyre wear if I was losing that, but no, nothing intentional.
All right.
Nothing to complain about on my part, anyway, from his point of view.
All right. Do you have any concerns about potentially getting stewards involved and giving you a penalty?
No, I would say so. I'd be surprised if there was, but happy to sit back and wait and see.
Alrighty, well, fair enough. And congratulations. Obviously, you've managed to score some good points. I'm not actually sure where that will put the championship, because obviously you're 4 points ahead of Supermac, but surely he scored more.
I can give you a live little update if you want.
Oh, that would be amazing because I'm not entirely sure of like who gets how many points for which.
Yeah, so if you take aside reserves, so just for like the first lot of drivers, that puts me first, up 5 places on 49. Rapid Puppin stays at second on the same amount of points, and Apex joins him on 36 with Tom on 32.
Oh, so your teammates tied third with Apex.
Yeah. No. 4 points behind in fourth.
Oh, my bad. So Apex is then third in the championship, and the Rapid Pup is second.
Yeah.
Ooh. And you're 13 points clear of second place. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Just a little bit of pressure to score some points in Spain there.
Yeah. A little bit of a gap, but we need something.
You need a slight buffer to make up for. Obviously, you won't be at peak performance next week.
Well,
so
depends how much I practice, but I doubt it.
So Tom P, obviously getting second place, and both you guys did amazingly in qualifying. Honestly, like I'm not used to seeing the Red Bulls that high up. I was like genuinely impressed. Yeah, so good job on that, and congratulations on the second place, Tom. Do you guys talk about like strategy beforehand about like maybe doing an alternate? Because we did see one team who ended up double stacking, and that was Ferrari. So did you guys talk about alternating strategies? Was there any game plan going into the race?
Yeah, you don't want to be on the same. We want to do split strategy.
Absolutely. And
Always a smart thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. Was there like any strategy like in the sense of maybe trying to help open up a gap for Supermac on the restart? Because no, it wasn't you. Was it?
I didn't need it.
You just had a little bit more pace.
And I had Rothwell's AI behind me, in between me and Rapid Pup on the restart. So
yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, oh my god, that's actually worked out so well for Supermac.
Yeah,
I nearly got a second ahead in going into turn one. So
yeah, which was
a better restart.
Which was pretty amazing because
all I've got to do is get Rapid Pup, and then that's second place secured because he is on old hards.
Yeah, and
I was quicker than all the other cars behind, but I just wasn't sure if I'd be quicker than him on the same tires.
I did notice it seemed like the Rapid Pup's setup had lower wings than what you guys were running. So between the old hards and him having more of a straight line setup, I think it really hurt him in the middle sectors and turn one as well. But yeah. Congratulations.
I don't know if there was much difference in the straight line speed because in the first stint I was able to overtake him on the straights.
Really? Maybe it was
I got past him. I overtook him before the first pit stop on the straights, and then I think he had a bit more downforce than me, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
What wings were you running?
Oh, that's a secret, mate. I can't tell you that.
Fair enough.
I can't be letting the old grid know. You know what I mean?
We can't let Red Bull secrets get out.
There's too many eyes and ears listening.
There's a reason why we're top.
No, that's fair. Can you at least tell me if Supermac had higher or lower wings than you?
I don't actually know.
I'm not actually sure. Yeah, not actually sure.
We couldn't tell you.
All right.
Either.
What I'll do, okay, watch my icon on Discord. I'll deafen for 5 seconds. You guys quickly say what your numbers were, and then you let me know who had higher wings.
Seven front wing. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Was I too quick? Yeah. You want me to dip for a little bit?
No, it's so good. It's good.
So who had the higher wings?
I think it might have been me, but I really don't know. I don't know what mine were to start with. I just picked a random one. So.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good place for us to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for the interview. Congratulations on the win. I mean, you guys are going to be doing amazingly in the constructors now. And it's looking forward to Spain, and then we should see Supermac back in top form for Monaco. Oh my god, that's going to be carnage.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe
that's
Canada
what
the week
safety
after
cars
that, or Silverstone. But
I'm,
hopefully be there or thereabouts.
it's going to be a long race for Monaco. I can feel it. There's going to be like 4 safety cars.
Especially in this heat. It's horrible.
Oh yeah, I'm not
I'm more
enjoying the
confident
heat.
in Spain than what I am in China. To be honest with you, I wasn't looking
Really?
forward to China. It's not my best track. Yeah.
Oh, so we could see Tom P carrying the Red Bull boys next week then.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully.
Very nice. Well, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for the interviews, and I'll see you guys next week. And I hope you have a lovely evening.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
You're the man. See you later.
See you later.
You are the man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we will be wrapping it up this evening. Join us next week. We'll be back to the 8:30 start time, and I won't be streaming on Twitch anymore. After this stream, I'll be making the move over to Kick. So from next week, it'll be on my Kick channel. So we'll be making the move over to Kick, and next week will be Barcelona, and it'll be an 8:30 start. And I'll see you guys all next week. And have a lovely evening. Thank you to everybody for racing. It's been a hell of an entertaining race. Love doing the commentary. It's never a dull race. The sprint was fun. The qualifying, maybe a bit iffy, but qualifying is always boring. And the main race was very entertaining. Even when there were gaps, they weren't there for long. And then it was just action-packed. I mean, solid. Absolutely solid. Well done to all the drivers involved, and to everybody that watched, thank you very much, and we will see you next week.